Hi, my little photo nerds. This is your teacher, Miss Miller. In this segment, we're going to be learning how to do a dispersion or disintegration effect. So we're going to try to do something similar to the photo that you're looking at right now with the portraits that we took in the lighting studio last week. So what you want to do first is go to the L drive, click on that, and then you go to my name, Miss Miller, and photo 1 2016, and then you should see a folder called Dispersion Portraits. Click on the subfolder and everybody should be in there, so you might have to click and kind of look around for yours. So remember, I tried to get you to look serious or kind of angry, like you're sort of exploding with anger. Some of you did a good job, and some of you not so good, but you can still use your picture. It's okay. So select your picture, which I've already selected one, and pull it up in Photoshop. So this is a picture of Quentin Kane. I thought he did a good job showing anger. So one of the things I want you to do first is to crop the image. So over here by your toolbox, there should be a cropping tool. Remember, when you're seeing what different tools are, if you hover your pointer over the tool, it should tell you what it does. Also, if you click on the little arrow in the corner, it should show you hidden tools as well. So select the crop tool, and I'm going to crop this into a square just because I think it will look a little bit better. So do that. Once you get it to the size that you want, you hit enter. Boom. Some other things I want you to play around with are some adjustments to kind of brighten up the picture. So you can go up here to image and you can do these adjustments. You can go to auto contrast, auto tone, and auto color. Those are just quick ways of kind of trying to fix a photo really fast. I recommend doing it by hand though. So if you wanted to play around with brightness and contrast, I would go to image adjustments, and then you can do the same things that I did with the auto features, but just by hand. So levels is a really good one. With levels, you can sort of control the different shadows, midtones, and highlights more individually and fine tune it. So I'm going to lighten it a little bit more over here. So I'm moving my highlights. This chart is called a histogram. And maybe kind of bump up the contrast just a little bit with the shadows. There. So that looks good. So feel free to experiment it, with the auto adjustments as well as doing it by hand. When you're done, you hit OK. So we're going to start our tutorial. The first thing, and one of the things we always do, is make a duplicate layer. This is nice because if you mess up, you can always have that original picture to go back to. So the way I do it is to go to Layer, Duplicate Layer, and just hit OK. So now we have two copies over here in our layer palette. Then we're going to hide the top layer. We do that by clicking on the little eye, so that layer is no longer visible. Then we're going to select the background layer. So what we want to do is make sure the background, the original background is highlighted. So that means it's selected. Then we're going to select the lasso tool, which is a selection tool. So if you go over here, it's usually visible. It looks like a little lasso. Click on it. And what I do if I'm using my laptop and I don't have a mouse, I go ahead and sort of click the mouse, and then then you should be able to take your other finger, oops, I messed up, and what we're going to do is select the figure, which I'm not doing a very good job. So if you mess up your selection, just go to select, deselect. It takes a little bit of coordination to kind of practice. So here we go. I'm going to do a little bit of a better job. So we're just going to kind of go around the figure. We're not selecting it exactly, so that's nice. We don't have to worry about it being perfect. When you get to the bottom, all you have to do is go across, and then you connect them. And oops. Well, I'm just going to leave it like that. That's fine. So now we've selected our image. Make sure you don't do that. And actually, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to pause it and select it. So again, select, deselect. All right, there. So I got my selection fixed. So now we're going to right click. And again, if you have trouble using the laptop, the mouse pad on your laptop, feel free to grab an actual mouse from one of the computers, or there's some up on the counter as well. It might be a little bit easier. So we're going to right click inside, and then you should come up with a context menu. You're going to hit fill, and then this another box comes up, and you want to make sure content aware is selected, and then hit OK. And sometimes it's a little slow. So it kind of makes sure it looks like your image in your background is deleted, but it's really not. So then go up to the top menu bar and hit select, deselect, and then you are going to reveal your background copy, and you want to make sure it's selected as well. So make sure that's highlighted. Then you're going to use the quick selection tool, and we're going to select the figure. So you've used the quick selection tool before. It's below the lasso tool. It looks like a little brush with little dotted lines around it. So click on that. Again, please make sure you're in the background copy. And then to use the quick selection tool, you just kind of drag it across the area that you're trying to select. This should be a little bit easier since we have a neutral background compared to last time. And again, if you get a little too much or too little, you can refine your selection by going up here to the plus and minus. So I'm going to hit the minus and kind of push back in to try to select Quentin a little better. Be a little tricky sometimes. And then if you want to add, again, just kind of use the plus feature. There we go. There. I think I got it. Oops, there's a little bit here, so let's get rid of where it's selected. And we do want to select his hand. All right, I think that looks good. All right, so now we're going to go up to the very top of the tool option bar and select Refine Edges. It's going to make your background white, and you can zoom in to help you a little bit. So if you go over here to a little box, if you click the zoom tool, and you can click in, and we're going to kind of fix the model's hair. So this is the tool that you want to select, and so yeah, the Refine Radius tool. I'm going to check Smart Radius, and then I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to select like 4 pixels there, and then we're just going to go around the model's hair a little bit. Again, it's a little, oops, that's too much. So I'm going to hit edit, undo. So again, a mouse is really useful. I can't believe I didn't bring one home. So I'm going to hold down. Okay, this looks a little better. So I'm just going to kind of select around the model's hair, or Quentin's hair, a little bit. Just like that. And then I'm going to go over here back to the box. I'm going to hit output, and I think layer mask. And then I'm going to hit OK. And there. So now in our background copy, we have the figure selected. I know it looks a little weird. I know these little masking tools are a little confusing. I'm confused by them a little bit too, but anyway, I promise it will look cool in the end. All right, so let's go back up to the top and hit View, Fit on Screen so that we can see what we're doing. Make sure the background copy layer is highlighted. We're going to make a copy of that layer, so we're going to duplicate it. So go to Layer, Duplicate Layer, and hit OK. So in our background copy too, make sure it's highlighted, and we're going to actually go to the little layer mask thumbnail right here. So right click on that, and then you're going to go to apply layer mask, and then you're going to hide the middle layer. Okay. Then you're going to rename the top layer dispersion effect. So go back up to the top layer, click on the text, like double click, and then rename it dispersion effect. Okay. And then you're going to duplicate again the selected layer once more. So again, go up to layer, duplicate layer, and hit OK. And then you're going to rename that layer man. So double click on the text and do that. Then you're going to go back and make sure the dispersion layer is highlighted and selected. All right, so now you're going to head up to the top menu bar, select Filter, and select Liquify. Where is it? Oh, there it is. God, I can't see. And then you want to make sure the forward warp tool is selected, so it looks like a little hand sort of pushing in like a corner. And you can change the size of the brush. So basically you're just going to kind of warp the hair to the side like this. Again, this is something that kind of takes a little practice. You can change the size of your brush to make it go a little faster. And then you're going to do this for the hair and also his, a little bit of the side of his face. So again, this takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to pause it and then I'll show you my finished product. So this is what you should have something similar to this. When you get it how you want, hit OK. Alright, so now what you're going to do, you're still in this dispersion effect layer, you're going to hold down the Alt key, and then you're going to go down to the bottom of the layer palette, and you're going to select this mask button. And then it's going to kind of fill in your dispersion effect with black. It'll make more sense when we move on to further steps. So now I want you to go down and I want you to go back up and select the man layer. Make sure that layer is highlighted. And then you're going to select the mask again at the bottom. So click on that. And then make sure the foreground color is set to black. So if we go over here to our tool option bar, this is the foreground and background color. So this little icon, make sure it's set to black. So to reset it, you can always just click this. So I reversed it, but I'm going to put it back. So, oops, there. So we want to make sure the foreground color is set to black. Then we're going to select the brush tool. Now remember, don't get confused. Some of these look like it looks like there's more than one brush tool. So we just want the good old-fashioned brush tool. Okay, so just again hover your pointer over the tool to make sure that's what it says. You're going to select your brush tool, and then you're going to go up here to the tool option bar and select a dispersion tool, kind of brush. There are different ones you can select. So it brings up this little sort of brush palette that you can choose different ones. So I'm going to choose one. You can choose any one that you like. And then I want you to open up this brush panel. And this allows us to kind of rotate the brush as well. So just start by, let me move this out of the way. It's not blocking. And then just kind of start clicking around, sort of in the figure. You can kind of see how it's starting to kind of sort of disintegrate. And then you can use this rotation tool to kind of, oops, you don't want to do it too much, just slightly, just to kind of make it look a little, oops. Okay, not doing a very good job. And then you can also change the size as well. So you can decrease it. Well, you don't want to do it that much. And so again, just kind of take your time with this a little bit. It's I'm gonna pause it just to make sure I get mine a little bit right, and so I'll show you what I end up with. So I've done it a little bit. I'm gonna also select a different dispersion brush as well, just so it doesn't look too much like a pattern. And again, they're kind of, I don't know why they're not showing up in the brush presets. So I'm actually going to go back over here and do it from here. So this is another one, I think. And this just kind of varies the texture a little bit. And again, you can kind of rotate it, and then play around with the size as well, so it doesn't look too much like a pattern, or it looks more organic. All right, so you want to make sure that you're in you select the dispersion effect layer, and that the mask is selected. So what I mean by that is having a little white border around this sort of this area that this mask that we filled in with black. Make sure that you might have to select your pointer again, that you want to switch it. So now you want to make sure, before it was set to, the foreground was black, we want to make sure it's set to white. And then select your brush tool. And then this time you want to do the opposite. You want to reverse. Oops, you want to have it going the other way. So when we were doing it initially, the little corner part was facing away from the model. Now we want to turn it and have it, facing the opposite way. And you can, again, play around with your brush size and different dispersion tools, brushes. All right, so I'm having some issues. So I had to select my move tool. So make sure your brush tool is selected. I kind of make it big. And then again, please double check that only the dispersion mask is highlighted. I already did a little bit, and that the foreground is white. Mine kept switching back, so it wasn't doing what I wanted it. And then you just kind of click, and it kind of brings back the picture a little bit. And I don't know, I ran into some technical difficulties, but somehow my brush palette or presets got moved over here. You shouldn't have that problem. But anyway, just, I was also able to go up here when I selected new brushes. Oops. And then I was able to click on this little gear. And then it also shows you, it kind of names different brushes. So I just selected like explosion brushes. And then so it kind of sets your list just to that. So it's not as big as the large list of all the brushes you have. And then for some reason, my little radius mover pointer ended up here. So I'm going to try different tools, brushes. Ah, messed it up. So again, Photoshop is a little tricky, takes a little bit of coordination. You can see that I struggle with that as well. There, that looks a little better. And then you might want to play around with just different brush effects. And I think it's better to make it as big so it looks more scattered. That's too much. So kind of where, oops, yeah, you don't want to get the corner because that's what's causing most of the, you just only want the brush part where it's all kind of scattered to kind of get there. And all right, and then I'm gonna just play around with some other brushes. So just play around with it until you get it right. Just, come up and if you have questions, if you're having trouble, I'm sure if I'm having trouble with it, you might have a little bit. Yeah, that looks a little better. And just to get some bigger particles in there so it looks like it's exploding. And that's really what the goal is. So I'll show you what my finished product looks like. All right, so I'm going to leave mine like this. What I ended up doing, because I kept doing it a little too much, I think less is more, is I would go up to my window and history and just kind of go back if I felt like I selected too much. So I don't think you need to do it too much to get it to look right. So you can go back in those steps and might maybe take away. So anyway, I'm just going to leave mine like it is. And so what you want to do next is you're going to go back to the little layer palette over here and you're going to select a new adjustment layer. So it looks like a little circle filled in halfway, and click on that, and then we're going to select gradient map. We've used this before. And then just click on it and then click down here and you can select sort of a gradient. I'm going to pick this kind of blue-orange like this. And actually, my gradient map should be above this one there. So I don't know why that did that, but if for some reason, make sure the gradient map is at the very top. It probably did it because I didn't select the man layer, but anyway, you can easily move your layer. And then you can close that, and then we're going to move down the opacity. So in the gradient map adjustment layer that we just clicked, just kind of lower the opacity so that just a little bit of that orange shows through. So that's a nice effect. And then, to see what the difference, and that just kind of softens it a little bit. So, bring the opacity down to maybe 40% or, even 20%, just whatever you like. I like it a little bit more. I'm going to do mine at Let's see. I'll do mine at 36%. All right, so now we're going to flatten these layers, but before we do that, I want you to save a working copy of this so that you do have this image with your layers intact in case you mess up. And I want to see the actual layers that you made. So when you save this, I'm going to actually have you save your working copy as well as your finished copy, just so that I know that you did the work. So go to File, Save As, and then you're going to rename the image like Working, Dispersion, and then you can save it in the L drive in the Dispersion tutorial folder. I'm not going to do it, but you do it. And after you save it, go to Layer, Duplicate, Flatten Image. So it's going to merge all those layers together. And then we're going to add just a little final touch. We're going to add an unsharp mask, which actually kind of sharpens the image a little bit more. I know that sounds weird. But I usually do this with all my photos. So go to Layer, create a duplicate layer, and then you're going to go up to Filter, and you're going to go to Sharpen, and you're going to go to Unsharp Mask, and you can kind of see how, the settings had already kind of sharpened it a lot. So you can kind of play around with these figures, like the amount of pixels. And what it basically does is it kind of selects pixels around the radius and sort of circumference of the image, kind of the outline, just the pixels that are sort of outlining, and makes them a little bit darker. And so it makes the image look a little bit sharper. So here, I'm going to do it all the way so you can see how much it did. That's too much. But you can kind of play around with that. I just usually do it just a little bit and usually make my radius maybe 3 pixels to 5 pixels. You don't want to do it again too much. See, now it looks too fake. So less is more. Subtlety, you want it to still look subtle. So I'm going to do it at 0 just so you can see. See how much it changes. It really does work. Actually, I'm going to do mine a lot because I think these pictures were kind of blurry that we took. So maybe around 80%, 75, 80%. That's a lot, but I think it looks good with this effect. So do it how you want. Get it to look how you want. Then hit OK. And then look at Quentin. He's so sweet looking. Now he looks so angry, like he's so mad. So save the final image too. So go back, go to File, Save As, and then save this one as like finished. And you could say finished dispersion or final. Final's probably better. Final dispersion. Okay, and then you're going to save both the working and the final in the dispersion tutorial photo that I'm going to have you folder that I'm going to have you save those in. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry, there was some little mishaps here and there, but that usually happens with Photoshop. And feel free to try this with another one of your photos. If you look on the internet, I'll do that right now. This is the tutorial that I used. He was kind of fast. His looks a lot better than mine. But if you type in like dispersion effect, and then I'm just going to hit the images. There are really lots of cool things you can do. So you can really apply this to any photo. So feel free to try to do this with a different photo if you want. The key though is to have a kind of neutral background. Because like this one, I think you can't really see the effect. The explosion part doesn't look as good, but anyway, it's a pretty cool technique. So that's it. So stay tuned for our next tutorial. Thanks for listening. Bye.